Stephen Miller just got publicly backstabbed by Donald Trump in a blazing hot Truth Social post that throws his entire deportation agenda under the bus. Now the MAGA machine is in meltdown mode. Protests are erupting nationwide, and even Republican governors are roasting Trump's own policies. But before we get to the betrayal, let's rewind, because this all started when lawmakers began sounding the alarm about Trump's creepy secret police tactics.
I will be introducing a bill that will prevent Homeland Security officers from hiding or concealing their identities and wearing masks, because we don't live in a country, an authoritarian country, where we have secret police who are masked, who are intimidating, who are scaring people. That's the stuff of authoritarian states. That is not the stuff of that's not how the United States operates. And that's really where this is breaking down, is the combination of these Gestapo-like tactics with the fact that these are nonviolent, non-criminal immigrants doing things the right way. And that's why you're seeing protests all around the country. It's not that they're protesting that people who have convictions are being removed. They're protesting that they're going after all of our communities, and they're undermining the legal process. If you want to reform asylum, come talk to me. I would love to do that. It's a broken process, but we have to follow the law, and Donald Trump is not following the law. He is inciting more fear, he's using more intimidation, and he is trying to inflame a problem so that he can, in my view, say that this is an insurrection, and that he can essentially say that the United States is a victim of some invasion and insurrection, which is completely bogus. But that's where he's going with this. And he's trying to make things worse with, I think, illegally sending in the military, which clearly violates the Posse Comitatus Act. And that's the problem that he's going to run into. And there's a court appearance today where we'll shed some light on that.
Dan Goldman just pulled the fire alarm on what looks like Trump's dream scenario. ICE agents in masks rolling up like it's a third world dictatorship. And surprise, the brains behind this cosplay authoritarianism, Stephen Miller. The man's entire personality is built around deportation spreadsheets and spite. He's been breathing down ICE's neck, demanding more raids, and not just any raids. He wants them loud, chaotic, theatrical, because if it's terrifying, it's working. This isn't about public safety, it's about turning fear into policy and ignoring the law to do it. And the public, they've had it. Even Trump's base is looking at this like, maybe not. Here you can see that the public has enough.
And guess what? The American people don't like it. Of course they don't. Today, Quinnipiac is out with new polling showing that Donald Trump's job approval is underwater by 16 points. On immigration specifically, he is underwater by 11 points. This is the guy who ran on the strength of his immigration and border policy. On deportations, he's underwater by 16 points. Turns out, empowering and militarizing ICE, pulling people off the streets, sending the military into communities, is not what the majority of people in the country want to happen. No kidding.
Turns out turning ICE into a paramilitary force isn't winning hearts and minds. Who could have guessed? Trump built his whole brand on tough on immigration, and now he's getting wrecked in the polls because of it. Even deportations, his supposed strong suit, are dragging him down by double digits. It's like America saw the trailer for Deportation, the movie, and decided to walk out before the popcorn was even warm. People aren't just disagreeing, they're fed up, and when Americans get fed up, they hit the streets. Now let's take a look at the crowds rising up.
And there's been an outcry in response. I mean, since Friday, we've seen massive protests all across the country. What you're seeing on your screen now are protests in San Francisco, Denver, DC, Chicago, New York, and Philadelphia. It's not even just the big metropolitan blue cities where we're seeing a lot of this. This is Oxnard, California, Louisville, Kentucky, Baltimore, Maryland, Raleigh, North Carolina, Columbus, Ohio, Dallas, Texas. This is Portland, Oregon, El Paso, Texas, Meriden, Connecticut, St. Louis, Missouri, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Kansas City. All across the country, people are mad. but the core of the protests is still in downtown LA.
When people in Louisville, Portland, and El Paso are all chanting in unison, you've officially united the country, just not in the way you wanted. Trump's deportation circus has been DOA since the beginning. Stephen Miller promised record-breaking crackdowns, and what did they get? Embarrassingly low numbers and a whole lot of lawsuits. Fact is, border crossings were already dropping, especially under Biden. So what did they do? Switch to pure theater, send ICE out like they're starring in a dystopian reboot of Cops. And now, Trump sees the backlash and suddenly, Stephen who? Check out this post. Trump just threw his own policy and Miller in the trash.
Trump wrote on Truth Social, "Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good, long-time workers away from them, with those jobs being almost impossible to replace. In many cases, the criminals allowed into our country by the very stupid Biden open borders policy are applying for those jobs. This is not good. We must protect our farmers, but get the criminals out of the USA. Changes are coming."
Oh, look, who's suddenly worried about hotel workers and farmers. Trump just accidentally admitted his own immigration policy is a total disaster, and in doing so, he basically lit Stephen Miller's entire career on fire. This is the same guy who wanted to deport anyone who blinked near a border, and now, Trump's whining that his very aggressive policy is hurting businesses? Translation, Miller's out. MAGA's cruel little architect just got evicted by his orange landlord, and online, people did not hold back. Some even turned Trump's meltdown into straight-up comedy gold. Just watch this.
Governor Newsom immediately responded to that post, writing, "Turns out chasing hardworking people through ranches and farms and snatching women and children off the streets is not good policy." Governor Newsom's press office also chimed in, writing, "Point of view, Stephen Miller seeing Trump tweet that he's backing off deporting hardworking families for now."
Ouch. You can practically hear Miller screeching from his lair. This wasn't just a bad day. This was a total collapse of the one job Stephen Miller was hired to do. Immigration cruelty? That's his whole thing. And now even Trump is backing away from it like it's contagious. It's exactly what progressives like AOC have been saying for years. Trump's immigration policies were never widely loved. We just weren't being loud enough about how awful they were. But now, that silence is over. Leaders are calling it out, communities are telling their stories, and the backlash is so strong, even Trump is ditching his Nosferatu-looking sidekick. Miller's being humiliated, not just by the public, but now by his own boss. Brutal. And guess what? He's not the only Trump loyalist eating dirt today, because just hours later, Scott Bessent showed up to defend Trump's so-called big, beautiful wall. Spoiler, it was neither of those things. And Bernie Sanders, he absolutely torched him right here.
My understanding is the Trump administration has, I think, 13 billionaires in office right now, leading government agencies. Is that about right, do you think?
I have no idea, Senator.
I think that's what the number is. Do you think it's a coincidence, given the large number of billionaires in the Trump administration, that this particular piece of legislation would provide $235 billion in tax breaks to the top 0.2% by expanding the exemptions in the estate tax?
Senator, I will tell you that when the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed, my tax rate went up.
Well, I don't know your exact situation, but I can tell you. Tell me about how many people do you think are in the top 0.2%?
Sorry?
Number of people in the top 0.2% who would benefit from this particular $235 billion tax break.
Scott Bessent walked into the Senate thinking he could spin Trump's billionaire tax agenda and immediately got steamrolled by Bernie. Bernie asks a simple question. How many billionaires are running the government? Bessent basically shrugs like he forgot his calculator. Then comes the kicker, a $235 billion tax break for the top 0.2%. And Bessent's defense, well, my taxes went up. Oh, congrats. It's like watching a Monopoly mascot try to testify under oath. And Bernie, he's had enough. Bessent's dodging is about to set him off. And next, Bernie starts dropping truth bombs like it's a fireworks finale.
Well, I know the top 10% is right. now paying 7%.
That's not the question.
The total tax.
My question is, why do you think at a time of unprecedented income and wealth inequality, when people like yourself economically have never ever had it so good, why do you think it's a good idea to cut Medicaid for low-income and working-class people by $700 billion to give $235 billion in tax breaks to the very, very, very richest people in this country, perhaps a few hundred families. Please justify that and tell me about that.
Well, Senator, I don't know, but the Democrats had the trifecta, and there was no tax increase or wealth tax on billionaires. You choose.
I'm not talking about a tax.
You chose not to do that.
Mr. Besson, I am not talking about a wealth tax. Explain. A few hundred of the wealthiest families in this country, $235 billion tax break. Explain to the American people why you think that's a great idea.
I think that this will increase small businesses substantially. That most small businesses, they are...
Has zero to do with, come on, you're smarter than that. This is the top 0.2%. This is not a mom and pop store. These are multi-billionaires, and the savings go to their kids after they pass away. This is nothing more than a gift to billionaires in this country.
Well, sir, that's just not correct, because the top 10% paid a bigger share of taxes after TCJA.
I'm talking about one provision in this. I don't want to argue with you about taxes in general. One provision, few hundred families, $235 billion in tax breaks. You can't justify that because morally it is totally unjustifiable. Let me ask you another question.
Watching Scott Bessent try to justify a billionaire tax giveaway to Bernie Sanders is like watching a goldfish argue with a blender. Bernie asks a crystal clear question: why gut $700 billion from Medicaid just to hand $235 billion to the richest of the rich? And Bessent's response? Well, Democrats didn't pass a wealth tax either. Great deflection, buddy. Then he tries to spin it as help for small businesses, as if mom and pop shops are sitting on private jets. Bernie's not buying it, and trust me, he's not done yet, because this circus, oh, it's just getting warmed up.
If you guys want to cut $1 trillion in Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, the estimate from CBO, I believe, is that over 15 million people lose their health insurance. Yale University and the University of Pennsylvania estimated that when you throw that many low-income and working-class people off of health care, some 50,000 people a year will die. Tell me why you think it's a good idea to give tax breaks to billionaires and allow 50,000 low-income and working-class people to die unnecessarily?
Senator, first of all, that's overstated by 5.1 million. That is not attributed to this bill. It is simply...
It's a combination. That's true.
No. You all had a scheduled expiration of Obamacare subsidies, and you did not extend that when you were in charge. 5.1 million. 1.4 million illegal aliens on Medicaid.
All right, look,
and there are work requirements. And our goal is to get more money to children and mothers.
Really? Your goal is to get more money to children, and working people. Really? Come on.
Bernie asks why 50,000 low-income Americans should die each year just so billionaires can get tax breaks. And Scott Bessent's response? Well, actually, it's only 44,900 if you squint. This man really tried to justify mass healthcare cuts by blaming undocumented immigrants and expired subsidies. And then, in an Oscar-worthy performance, he claims the goal is to get more money to children. Right. After slashing Medicaid like it's a clearance sale, Bernie doesn't even need a mic to drop. He's just burning this guy alive with facts. And here comes the last part.
Do you know how many people, and I was surprised to hear this, I don't know if you know it or not, how many people lose their jobs every year, quit, get fired or whatever? Do you have any idea?
Well, there's something called the quits rate, and so when the job market is strong, more people quit.
But yeah, I was surprised that I just researched this. I don't know. Do you happen to know?
I don't know the number.
I was surprised. Would it be shocking to you? It was to me. 20 million people leave their jobs a year. Doesn't shock you, right? It's a big labor force, right?
Yep.
So some guy leaves the job, maybe they move, maybe something happens in their lives, right? We have a lot of transition in the labor market, correct?
Maybe they get a better job.
Right, exactly, maybe they do. Or maybe they have to stay home, their wife gets sick, whatever, we don't know. But 20 million people lose their jobs in a given year, leave their jobs in a given year. Are those people lazy? What happens when I leave my job and maybe I have to move to another state to take care of my ill mother? And I desperately need Medicaid. Am I too lazy now to be able to get Medicaid?
I think that's a mischaracterization of the work requirement.
Really? Well, I'm not quite so sure.
So let's get this straight. Scott Bessent just admitted that 20 million Americans leave their jobs every year, and somehow he still thinks slapping work requirements on Medicaid is a genius idea. Bernie lays it out perfectly. What happens when someone quits to care for a sick parent or moves across the country for a better life? Are they suddenly lazy because they need healthcare during a transition? This isn't about accountability. It's about punishing poverty, and Bessent's attempt to spin it just proves how deeply out of touch the Trump team really is. And believe me, the unraveling is just getting started, so if you enjoyed watching Trump's economic cronies get exposed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We've got plenty more chaos to cover, because what happened next? You won't believe it. Click on it.